Yes.
Okay. All right. So, I was just saying how with these videos, I want to have like the intro motivational moment, and then go into the topic with who I'm speaking with every week. Today, we're going to be talking about the fear of rejection, how we can allow it to control our lives. And I was inspired by this topic because I'm reading this book. It's probably backwards. The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. And this book is literally this small, but it's so meaty. Like, I literally have to go back and reread sentences because it's so fucking deep. Right. So, I just want to uh, read the portion that just really stuck out to me, and a portion that I sent to cece that really made me like, you know what? Because me and cece, we have a deep discussion building stuff. Yes. And this was just like hit home for me. So it says, inner pain is always there underneath, hidden by the layers of our thoughts and emotions. We feel it most when our hearts go into turmoil. Like when the world does not meet our expectations, this is an inner psychological pain. The psyche is built upon avoiding this pain, and as a result, it has fear of pain as its foundation. To understand this, notice that if the feeling of rejection is a major problem for you, you will fear experiences that cause rejection. That fear will become part of your psyche. Even though the actual events causing rejections are infrequent, you will have to deal with the fear of rejection all the time. That is how we create a pain that is always there. If you are doing something to avoid pain, then pain is running your life. All your thoughts and feelings will be affected by your fears. And it goes on to say, like, if you are afraid of being rejected by someone, you approach that person with the intention of winning their acceptance, you're already skating on thin ice. All they have to do is look at you sideways or say the wrong thing, and you will feel the pain of rejection. The bottom line is, since you approach them in the name of rejection, you are going to be dancing on the edge of rejection throughout that interaction. One way or another, the feelings you experience will work their way back to the motive behind your actions. The avoidance of pain is what your actions are linked to, and you will feel that link in your heart. So that hit me. Yeah. For me, because especially starting a business, and I remember when I applied to, I was with my old company for like 8 years, and just going into a new company, you have this fear going into an interview, or making an idea public, of how are people going to react to it, how or what are people going to say about it, or that people won't like it, or things like that. And if you allow those thoughts to permeate and like take over, like, you screw yourself up. Like, you don't move forward in life. Yeah. So when I sent that to you, what were your thoughts on it?
I thought it was so good because it did hit on a lot of key things that me and you talk about on a daily basis. And I'm sorry, I have notes because I can't remember. One of the things that really like stuck out to me is that the fear that we walk around with will have us so comfortable in staying in such a horrible situation. And I don't mean just like personal, like you talked about your job. It'll have us staying in jobs where we are underappreciated and underpaid because we're afraid that the next interview that we have will tell us no. But that's a fleeting feeling. Like, okay, you told me no.
One second, cece. Wait, can you do me a favor and just hold the microphone like right here?
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Is this better?
I got you.
Is this better?
Yeah, no, because the earring was hitting up against the.
Oh, let me take it off. Okay. Sorry. It's Juneteenth weekend, so I had to represent my blackness. But okay. So like you just said, it stopped you, or you had a fear. But that's just a fleeting thing. Like, either we're told yes or we're told no. Either somebody's going to give us what we need, or they're not. I feel like for whatever reason we forget that fear is just a natural part of life and it doesn't last long. And oftentimes fear is what we need to keep moving forward. It shouldn't be looked at as a completely negative thing. Fear can actually protect us. We just want it to protect us in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it, and that's something that I've come to accept. Is like fear is a natural emotion. The problem is what are you allowing it to do when it comes
Right.
up? So when that moment of fear comes up, like how are you handling that moment? And I know for me, what I've started doing is I've started like saying, vocalizing my thoughts out loud, and you'll realize like how fucked up your mind is, like how your mind can be like your greatest adversary sometimes, because like if you feel that you're dumb and you don't feel like you know enough or you're not good enough, the thing is people need to understand is you have to start somewhere. You
Right.
have to like and once you, I know my therapist, because I forgot what I was scared of at the time. Oh, I think it was like I needed to have, it was an issue like with a family member, and I pretty much was avoiding the person. I didn't even want to have that discussion with them. And she was like, anytime you have a situation that you are scared of, think about what is the worst thing that could happen. Like you confronting this person, what's gonna happen? They're gonna like kill you, shoot you, or like what is
Right.
the absolute worst? Like, oh, they're gonna cuss you out or say they don't want to talk, and that really is gonna be on them. That's not even on you.
On you.
Like,
Right.
and if it gets to that point where somebody does cuss you out because you want to have an honest conversation, or if you launch a product and people say some negative shit about it, like that's on them. That don't have nothing to do with you. Or
Right.
even if sometimes also we have to, on the other side of the coin, I think with that is if somebody does have something to say or negative, or even though they might not put it in the most best way, I always try to be receptive of people's opinions only to a certain amount because I feel too that's how we can grow.
Right.
Like you kind of like if you're trying to have an honest conversation and they tell you you're always fucking opinionated, you're judgmental or something like that, then you know even though the way they said it was kind of off-putting, sometimes I like to do inventories of myself and to see like okay, how am I treating people, how you know what I'm saying.
Right.
Like give yourself a dose of realism that I feel a lot of people can't. But it's a muscle you got to exercise.
Yeah. Fear and fear will keep you from standing up for yourself. Like it'll make you feel like, oh, if I say, like you just said, if I say this, that's gonna make this person feel some type of way. It makes us ignore our feelings for the sake of somebody else's. And it also stops us from being who we are. So if I present myself one way, but that's not who I really feel like I am, then I'm not really being accepted for who I am. I'm being accepted for the fake me. And that's why I have this thing where I can wear these colors in my hair. I can wear these glasses. I can look at somebody dead in their eye and say, I said what I said because I don't give a fuck what you say back. My mind is already made up. I can do that, but I haven't always been able to do that. I've been in a position where fear allowed me to be comfortable in situations that was affecting my sanity. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
I was losing who I was because I was afraid of being alone. I was afraid of being a single mother. But in actuality, those are small things to deal with in comparison of my own mental health. And that's what people need to realize. Like your mental health, your happiness, it it should be your number one priority when it comes to other people. And if they can't accept your reasonable amount of happiness, then fuck them. Like my
Right.
fear, your fear should be having people in your life who you can't be honest with.
Yeah, and that's why I really wanted to have this discussion with you, because you're like one of the first people in my life who exhibited that. Like, anytime I have an issue, like worried about what people will think, and you're like, well, who gives a fuck? Like, who cares? Or like, there's some things that you would do, and I'll be like, aren't you worried about something? You're like, I don't care. Like, you're so freeing, and it's
Yeah.
really like a muscle to exercise, because it's terrifying at first to do that, to just have this mentality of not caring what other people say. How did you get to that point? Like, what was driving?
To be honest, how I got there was like through my first marriage. Like with my first marriage, like I realized after a while that there was no real love there. Well, I won't say no real love. It wasn't a positive type of love. You know what I mean? And I found myself walking with I didn't even know I was doing it. I was walking with my head down low. I was becoming somebody that I didn't want to be. And it was all because I was afraid of being a single mother. I was afraid of being young, married, and then divorced. And I was afraid what people were going to say. But once I filed those papers to get divorced, and then I got therapy, I was just like, those things was holding me back from being completely happy. And it wasn't even worth it. Because guess what? Either you're going to be a single mother or you're not. You're either going to be in a relationship or you're not. At what expense of ourselves do we give to make somebody else look at us in a positive light? If you can't look at me in a positive light because I'm no longer married or I'm a single mother, then fuck you. I don't need your light. Like, take it away from me. Give me somebody else's glow.
Right. I think that's important. I think a lot of people keep people around them that bring them down, or that enhance that feeling of the fear of being scared of rejection, of being scared of what other people say. Because the people that you have around you always got shit to say, always got negative things to say to bring you down. They're like, oh, don't you do that, because you know what I'm saying, like that.
Right. And we have to be careful too of who we allow to tell us stuff, because sometimes those people we talking about have a fear themselves. It's something that they would be too scared to do themselves, or it could be a jealousy thing of, oh, they have the guts to do what I want to do. And so we have to be careful of the people we express ourselves to and our fears, because they might just be as insecure as we are, and they're just projecting that onto you.
Yeah, that was something really powerful that I had to realize, like when I wanted to step out and go the entrepreneur route. You have a lot of people. I remember this one guy, because I was like, oh, I want to have a clothing line. I want to blog. I want to do all this. And he's like, you're doing too much. Like, who you think you are, Oprah? And I was like, damn. But I realized later that he was talking from his own limitations. Like, he can't think that big. And a lot of times people who can't think as big or are willing to step outside of their comfort zone, when you say things that are like outside of their comfort zone, is triggering them. And they want to bring you down to where they are. So
it's funny that you say the comfort zone, because I realize how many of us stay in horrible situations, jobs, friendships, relationships, romantic relationships, just because we're comfortable. I've seen women, and myself included, deal with different forms of mistreatment because we know what to expect. We know how to fix it. We know how to do this, and we know how to do that. But why? Like, why should I have to fix something just to make you feel better? Because I'm not feeling better. It's a fear we have to grow. We have a fear to grow away from this person. We have a fear to grow away from this job, or a fear of the next person you're in a relationship doing you the same way. But that's just a natural fear. It'll go away in your next relationship eventually. That's also, though, why I tell people, especially when it comes to relationships and fear, to get therapy. Because therapy will definitely help you put things into, align things up for you. Yeah. We should stagnate ourselves based on our fear, because we'll never grow.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And I just wanted to say, so this thing is interactive. Javel, right now, you know. If you have an input or you want to say something, feel free to type an N to be part of this discussion. But yeah, so with that being said, what are the steps that you do now to help you deal with fear of rejection?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't even think. I think I've got to the point where I don't even think about it. I just do it. Because I spent so much of my life um, worried about everybody else. So now it's just like, okay, Cece, you're 37 years old. You got all these kids. You have been remarried. And what do you have to lose at this point? Like, what do I have to lose? I get scared. I think I've told you this. Like when I went to New York, it was nothing. I had green hair. It was no big deal. But here, like I get stared at all the time. My intelligence is questioned by the color of. I've had a debate with somebody who, swear to God, was just like, oh well, I don't know what I would expect for somebody with bright red hair. Like so, things like that is why I don't care anymore. I know who I am. My hair doesn't define me. My glasses don't define me. What defines me is me no longer having that fear of worrying about what the next person with a different fear has to say about me.
Right.
And I think, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I think too, surrounding yourself with people who encourage you, and who strengthen you, I think that also helps when you deal with fear. And then knowing what to expect. If I expect this person to be negative, why would I talk to them? You know what I mean?
Right.
That's not your expectations. What did it say earlier, Capri? It said, I wrote it down. Hold on. It says when the world does not meet our expectations.
She felt this way starting her YouTube, thinking about what others have to say.
But you shouldn't. Because either they're going to like it or they're not.
That's why it's good to have friends like cece, like quick.
Yeah, because either they're going to like it or they're not. And the ones who are not going to like it aren't meant to be a part of your circle anyway. Yeah.
Damn.
It was just crazy because it said the world does not meet our expectations. It turns our heart into turmoil and it causes inner psychological pain. I don't know about you, but I deal with pain every day of different varieties that I can't stop. You know, it's just a natural part of life. I refuse to be psychologically damaged by fear and by what everybody else has to say.
Yeah.
I mean, I already have mental illness. I don't need to add to it.
And I think too, because I was literally just listening. I want to really drive home the point. You brought it earlier, and Michael talks about it in this book, that emotion of fear, embrace it. Don't push it away, but let it flow through you. He is all about, with the book, he's all about how our emotions, our feelings, it's okay to have them, but you need to release them as different world relax, really release. They would say all the time, just let that, recognize those feelings, embrace those feelings, and just let that pass through, and then just do what the fuck you want to do, or have the courage to do what you been meaning to do.
Yeah, and also remember that everybody deals with fear.
Everybody. Like, there's people who I look up to, who I deem as successful, and when I have intimate talks with them, like, their concerns, their fears are pretty much what mine are. Like, it's to say, everyone self-doubts, everyone, isn't sure, but the main difference between people who are successful or not is the fact that they went ahead and did it anyway.
Right.
They didn't not necessarily care, but they just had the courage to just follow through with something, and not only that, stick with it when it seems like no one's paying attention. Like, right today, we had max 3 viewers, but I would still do this every week, like, because main thing is I'm talking with my homies, talking with my peeps, and this is how we do it, like, all the time anyway. I'm just doing it on a public forum, and, who knows, it's all about anytime people talk about getting to the place you want to be, the main thing is consistency. They say that keep doing it, no matter if it's only one person watching. I remember I went to a show with Javelle. Her man had these artists, and there was literally like about 5 people, Javelle, in the club. And they were performing, and like the first couple of performers, like their energy was like, because it was, I guess they felt disappointed that wasn't a packed house. The last group that went up, they performed like they was at Madison Square Garden. Like, they gave the best performance of that night, and it was literally like only 5 people in that room. And I love that mentality. You know what I'm saying? Like, go hard. And I was collecting money. Yes.
Of course she was.
Yeah, they have me at the door. I'm a professional greeter. But I love that kind of energy. Like, go all the way in with it. Do it with passion. Even if it's one person or a 1,000 million people, like, deliver the same kind of energy, child.
Can you imagine, like, if people like Rosa Parks or Malcolm X or Martin Luther King, or I can't think right now, I'm sorry, if they would have allowed fear to stop them, if Rosa would allow fear to stop her from sitting on that bus, like, those people have influenced us, and they had to have been scared, especially during those times, but they did it for the greater cause. I can't imagine them being, like, what I like is already hard, like, we can't take that away, but they did it, and we are the better for it. That's another, like, that's also why I think when I think about, if I have doubts about what color I want my hair to be, like, this is small potatoes compared to what my ancestors did. Instead of acting on that fear, they said, you know what, even if it doesn't go this way, I could lose my life, and they have, but they still took their chance. They still, Harriet Tubman, the Underground Railroad, fear. That's not fear. If that's not fear, I don't know what is. But she did it. We have to think about those things.
Yeah, I love that you brought it to that point, because it's very timely with now. You have people that are out here stomping these streets. Your man was out there. My Michael was out there. That was initially supposed to be a peaceful protest and turned very violent. But I'm quite sure just to go out and deciding to, you don't feel like it's a big thing, but there's power in numbers. So body is everything out there, and I'm quite sure there's initial fear when people first started protesting, when you first go out there, but it's kind of weird, but all the changes that are happening so far, just off of people who have decided to overcome their fear of going out in these streets, making their voices heard. We're already starting to see a major shift happening, even though, well, I'm not going to say it's a little too late. It's never too late, but, it's kind of weird. Literally last year, Black Lives Matter was a terrorist organization, according to a lot of people.
It still is, according to some people. But that's a subject for another day. Don't get me started.
Okay. But my point is, partly with now, there's a lot of fear with speaking up. Like, I was reading this really good tweet, and it was talking about, during these times, people of other races are like, are you okay? Usually we're like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, we act like it's nothing because we don't want to, I guess, scared of their reaction to our reaction. Like if we were to get real about how we really feel, and it's like, no, let them know how you really feel. There's nothing if they're asking, let them know how you really feel. Like it's, and if they were just asking just to be surfaced and fake, well, that's gonna reveal itself. But at least they know how you really feel.
Right. And I love this whole. Go ahead.
No, Shakira just put a comment. Girl, I really feel like it's just a Band-Aid. Until we hear the news that police officers will be held accountable for their actions, then I will feel better. However, cops are still doing fuck shit. Now we are seeing all our friends coming out of the woods, stating how they really feel about it. Yeah.
And that's so true, Chiquita, especially about all our racist friends. I don't know about you, but some of the white people, I have white Facebook friends that I worked with, laughed with, joked with, hung with. So to see them now posting certain things, I'm like, oh, so this is who you really are. You saw me as less than, even though you were laughing in my face. Fear will keep you from saying something, right? Because typically people who think alike hang out together. They comment on each other's posts, correct? I have now gotten to the point, I don't give a fuck who in your post. I'm a comment and we can go back and forth until I'm tired. And that takes a lot, especially if I'm talking about being black in America. That's something that you have to overcome too. I feel like sometimes in our past, and even some people, black people now, they'd be too afraid to hurt people's feelings. Right. But those same people don't mind hurting you or your offspring. So why the hell? And I'm talking about with violence. Why would I be afraid to speak what I know is the truth?
Right. And Javelle said, I confronted so many friends who didn't acknowledge blackout. I feel you. Because I was side-eyeing too. Like, where your black body? Even though it wasn't, then I found out later. It was supposed to be for the media. It wasn't even supposed to be for us. But then Shakita told me about the story. I don't know how much I can say, but this woman called, she's a nurse in a hospital. Obviously, they have people with mental issues. The nurse called the cops on a patient that was having like an episode. Called the police on a black person that was having an episode. So that was really strange. And hate, she also says hate is the root of jealousy. Yes. And to tie this back to fear, I feel the basis of a lot of people who won't acknowledge what's going on, our pain and everything, it's a fear of revealing, I guess, themselves or who they think could truly be. So they mask it as like something else. But
right. I try not to address those people. Do you know why? Because I can't have a conversation with somebody who is willingly and happily basking in their ignorance. Mm-hmm. And fear can definitely bring up ignorance. I feel like, I also feel like these people have a fear of who we really are. Take away the violence, because overall, I don't believe in black and black crime. People statistically commit crimes within the community they're in. Take that away, we are a powerful people. And I feel like their fear is like, yo, if things change around, I might not be able to benefit off the back of another black person. I might not get that job I want. I might not be able to have the health care. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a fear that they have. That's why they're reacting this way.
Right. Yeah, that's true. And I think deep down, they might fear if we really wanted to uprise, it'll be a problem. It'll be a real big problem. And
then even actually, if they were smart, they would realize if we wanted to uprise and destroy you, we would have already done that, since we so-called so violent. Like, that's all I'm saying. For us to be so violent, y'all still walking around, you're still mistreating us.
You say for your neighborhood still.
Okay.
Yeah, but just to tie it off with fear of rejection.
Yes, let's go back.
Because we can go down this dark hole.
Yes.
But I think I just really want to stress to people how it can really run your life, like, if you allow it. And that's what's scary, is that our thoughts that come through our heads, if we allow it, can really take you in situations that you don't need to be in. And it's something, and it's so, when you think, I'm on my higher consciousness. It's like when you think about a thought and how that thought can just like run your fucking life, and it's something so simple. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yes.
kind of scary. That's why, like, any decision I make, I try to really think about it thoroughly, and at the same time, like I said, you have to release those feelings and just inside, deep inside, you know what you want to do.
Right.
So if you remove the fear aspect, you just gotta fucking do it. And like you said, like with you being a single mom, like you have people. I've had discussion with friends who have fear of being alone, or I have had discussions with friends who are scared to leave the security of their job to follow their dreams. If deep inside, you know where you need to be in life, you know what you want out of life, you just need to like remove that fear factor from it. And I'm telling you, like, the other side of it is like beautiful. Like the people who I've seen, like, you know, when you got out of your marriage, like the other side of it was beautiful. And people who I've seen jump from their jobs, like my friend that has a yoga studio. She had a good job, and she kept a good job while she had her studio, and then she left the comfort of a daily check to start her, 100% her business, and it's growing better because her focus has changed. It's like that initial fear. Once you get over that, the other side of that is beyond what you thought that it would be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And also, I think that once you conquer your fear, you realize that, like you just said, somebody left their job to start a new business. If it doesn't work out, guess what? You can just go back to get it. You can go back to work. If that next relationship don't work out, you can go get another relationship. Like, we can't be so comfortable in our fear that we forget it's other opportunities out there for us, instead of us remaining unhappy every day. For me, that fear that I had, every day I looked in the mirror, I hated who I was. I thought I was the ugliest, stupidest person in the whole world. And once I signed those paperwork and filed that divorce, went to court, got therapy, I was just like, yo, this is what I've been missing this whole time. I was missing stability in my life because of fear of what could happen. And I can't lie and say I haven't. I'm remarried now, but before that, I can't lie and say I didn't struggle. I was lonely. I hadn't even stopped having sex because I felt like that was prohibiting me from growing. But it was so worth it. Like, I'm a whole lot. I haven't. You've been around me. My first marriage, I was losing apartments. I was being evicted. I lost cars. I've owned 3 or 4 cars since then and have not been evicted since then. And that's because I released that fear and decided to love who I was and to move forward.
Yeah. Javelle was saying that, so y'all need to get this podcast going because y'all are dropping bombs. Thank you.
Thank you, Javelle.
On that note, though, I gotta get ready for work.
Yeah, I gotta finish cooking.
I gotta do my 9 to 5.
Okay.
And it was a pleasure speaking with you, Cece, of course. Okay,
Thank
wait.
you.
Thomas said you stopped having sex. Wow.
Yes, cuz. Honey, I had to, like, if you only knew how my first marriage was, you would be like, I get it.
And look, I don't want to put your business out there, but Cece, if you know her, you know she's a freak, so her life.
Okay, I don't have 6 kids for nothing. So, but it took some. It was hard, but it was definitely worth it.
leave comments there. Check it out. And I'm excited about this. I'm loving this, having these discussions.
Yes.
You're probably going to be on again.
And now you know I'll be ready.
So thank you. And thank you guys for watching.
Yes, thank
Bye.
you. And thank you for having me. Bye.